I'll just say good morning as well.
Good morning.
Good to see you guys all here again at the VFW. I thought I'd just take a couple seconds, just a few seconds, to thank everyone for last Sunday for coming out to the vote. I mean, we're in a unique situation. That's not normally how we're going to do a vote. We wouldn't say, hey, come back out on Sunday to the VFW and do a vote. That's not the way it normally goes. It's kind of unique, but we're in a unique situation. And I just want to say thanks. We had a great turnout, and that's important. We had a lot of people show up for that, and that was encouraging. To me, to all of us. And then obviously thank you for your support. Many of you guys have supported us, and me, and it's a unique situation, but it's a privilege. I think it's an honor, and I really think it's a good thing that we have this continuity through this transition. Pastor Phil and Darlene led us for almost 13 years, and got us in a great spot, in a great direction. Since I've been on board, the board itself has had a vision and the focus, and that's been good. And so for me to come in and just maintain that continuity and come alongside it is not the typical way it goes. It's a blessing. Typically, a church would be without a pastor for a year and they're just hanging on and striving to kind of survive, and then someone comes in and kind of put the pieces together, and that's not what we have to do here. So that's great. And I'm privileged and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I get to just join you guys, and that's really great. And we're going to get the remodel done. It's going to get done. This week didn't progress as much as we wanted it to, so we'll be back here next week. And I thought, man, that's not great. But then I realized we have this team that comes and sets us up and doesn't complain. Like, I would love to be able to say, look, we got to get this done because we're wearing our people out, because it's an effort to be here, but it's really not. They do it without complaint. So I just want to recognize them, because we have Nathan and his family, and we have Doug, and we have Joel, and Kurt, and Emily, and the rest of the family, Melanie, Fred, all those guys, they come and put effort in. And so this one, I really thank them. Tony is a big part of all this. We get it all set up. So just want to thank you guys. Thank you guys for your work and all that you've done. And that's bad. So I wish we could complain a little bit more, but they don't. And then thank our youth group. They've chipped in and they've helped feed us. We don't know how many more weeks they'll feed us, but they've given us food. We want to thank them, and Trent, Emily, and Kevin, and Ellie have kind of led that charge, and then you guys just kind of show up and help out. And so thank you to the youth for being a part of this and shipping in. That's a big part. We all get to come and just be the church, and so it's been good. We're transitioning. We'll transition back into the sanctuary. We'll transition as we go. There'll be more transitions as we kind of change. And we hire another associate pastor. We'll do some transitions, but we get to do it together. In the meantime, today we're transitioning from our Packed and Ready series into a 4-week series on the second letter of Timothy. It's like Paul's second letter to Timothy. So we're going to start with that this week. It's a 4-week series. So we're going to tackle having before chapters. That's kind of a coincidence. So we'll kind of cover each chapter each week. You guys are invited to join in and help participate throughout the week by reading that chapter for the week. So you have to catch up. Chapter 1, you guys didn't know. I've already read it, luckily. You guys didn't know. So catch up, read chapter 1, and then jump on to chapter 2 and read that. I like to read it every day. Every day I'll read the chapter and I'll write notes and just look at what God tells you. Verses pop out, words pop out to you, ideas pop out to you, and just highlight them in your journal. I don't know how you guys do it. I like to write in margins in my Bible. I like to write in it. I don't highlight as much as I don't journal as much as I do. It depends on the season of my life, but I journal. However you guys do it, look for things that pop out. I mean, you guys are participating all week long, and then you come on a Sunday morning and see what God has to say. I think you'll be surprised that we do that every day, that God really speaks to us through it. So you guys are invited to do that. But we're going to jump in and look at second letter of Timothy, 2 Timothy. So let's pray real quick, because we just did a lot of this stuff. Let's pray and get ready for this. God, we thank you for this morning. We thank you that this family can come together again, that we have a place to worship. We have several places, actually. If our place is being remodeled, the city opens their doors to their concert hall, and that's a blessing to be in this country to be able to do that. We could have been in the park, we could have been in school, we could have even put around one in movie theater. How cool would that be? But we live in this country where we're free to worship, and people are genuinely Timothy was a young leader in the church. He was very young, and he was put in charge of leading the church in Ephesus, a church that Paul loved. And we'll see throughout Acts, you can read about Timothy, it's Acts 16 that Paul meets Timothy. Again, we got introduced to Timothy as a young man, but a young man with a good reputation. A young man that is known for loving Jesus. A young man that was instilled faith in him from his mom and his grandma. I thought that was interesting. Paul specifically says the women in the life built their faith. That's pretty cool. But Timothy had this reputation. Paul said, no, why don't you come with me? Why don't you come check this out? So he takes Timothy along and mentors Timothy, and they end up in Ephesus, and we can read in Acts 19 that Paul starts a church and spent 3 years in Ephesus and starts to feed the church. But now Paul's writing letters from prison in Rome. He got in prison for loving Jesus, for doing the things that he was called to do, and he starts writing letters from the situation that isn't that great for Paul. But he's thinking in prison, what can I do from prison? And he's thinking of the young Timothy, that probably needs encouragement trying to lead this church in Ephesus. So he's writing these letters to encourage letters from prison, and he knows he's probably not going to get out alive. Like he's there. It's not great. It's not a good situation. But he's thinking, this is an opportunity for me to encourage other leaders, which is pretty significant. Paul, he was an evangelist in a lot of ways. He started churches, but we are all called to make disciples, and Paul was no different. He was a disciple maker. And Timothy was one of his disciples. Timothy was someone that he raised up, that he poured energy into, and he tried to get in a leadership position, and that's what we're all called to do. We all should desire to have an attitude as a church. We should want our attitude, we should want our church building, we should want our very spirit just to be inviting to new believers, inviting people that don't know God and love God. We should be inviting them in somehow, and that's what we should want, to be an evangelist, but we're also called to disciples. We don't just want people to be saved, we just don't want people to go to heaven. We want them to live like they're in heaven here on earth. Like we should be able to live like we're in heaven. Like we get heaven when we die. We should be able to live with some joy here on earth. And that's what discipling is all about, is helping people along in their faith and helping them live down here like we're in heaven. Like we get to do that. So we should encourage all the people to do that. And that's what Paul is doing with Timothy. And leaders need encouragement. So if there's one thing that we get just from the fact that the letter was written, is that leaders need encouragement. I mean, we need encouragement. Whether it's in the government, the leaders in the government need encouragement, the school board, the communities, employment, your bosses, or here at the church, we all need encouragement. And Paul knew this. Like he knew he had leaders in place, good young leaders in place, but he knew that they had to have ways to encourage them. And so we should be doing the same thing. So we should be first asking us, as we enter into this letter, is like, who have I encouraged lately? Like, what one of my leaders in my life have I encouraged? Have I reached out to them and encouraged them? And if we're leaders, we should be thinking back, like, who are the people that have encouraged me and be thankful for that? I have so many people in my life that have encouraged me. And it's good for me to think about that. So we should be thinking, and all of us in some regards should be thinking, who have I encouraged lately and who has encouraged me? Because we all need encouragement. Whether we're in a leadership position that's in front of thousands, or maybe just your house, that's all you're leading. We're all leading somebody, and so we all need encouragement. And we all need people that help us build up our faith. We all need that. Every one of us in here needs someone to help us at some point to build our faith up. So the hope is that this series, this 4-week series, will do that for all of us. As you guys come alongside, you guys read it, that you guys will all have opportunities to have your faith built up through Paul's word to Timothy, but God's word to us as well. So we're going to look at the 4 chapters going along, and this week we're starting with chapter 1. And as we read it, or as I read it, and things popped out, the very first thing that pops out is verse 9. So 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 9 says, He, God, has saved us and called us to a holy life. Not because of anything we have done, but because of His own purpose and grace. The grace that was given to us in Christ Jesus before the beginning of time. So we have a calling. We talked about that earlier this morning quite a bit. We have a calling. God saved us, for sure. We all have salvation. If we accept Jesus Christ as our Savior, if you haven't, there's always an opportunity to do that. Maybe today's the day. But we have this salvation, this joy of salvation in us, but we also have a calling. That's not all He gives us. We have a calling on our life. God wants to save us. He wants us to be in heaven with Him one day. He wants to get to know us now, and he has a job for each and every one of us. He has a responsibility for each and every one of us. He has things set aside and purpose just for each and every one of us. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing, because I wasn't saved until I was in my mid-20s. I know what it's like to be a good guy. I was always a good guy. Most people agree. Especially me, I was a good guy. I was doing good things, but I know what it's like to do those things and not really have a purpose. To not know, like, what am I really doing here? What's this all about? Is this all there is? That's not a great feeling. The moment I got saved, I realized I had a purpose. God gave me a purpose. And from that time on, God would not leave me alone. And I'm going to be honest, sometimes it's very annoying. Like, I wanted to, God, just leave me alone for a little bit. He wanted. Since my salvation, God's had a small voice in my head that would say, you have to do this. You have to go here. What are you doing that? Well, why don't you read about this? Why don't you learn about it? You should probably talk to that person. It kind of gets annoying, but know what? I've come to accept that it's a very good thing. And God has that for each and every one of us, and that's so reassuring that it's not up to us. We don't have to figure this out. Our goodness isn't good enough, because we figure that out when we need salvation. Our goodness isn't good enough, and our purpose isn't grand to be fulfilled. But God has a purpose for all of us, and He has a calling for you. And for me, my life has been very annoying, but very satisfying. Very satisfying. And I don't have that desperation I had in the early 20s. Trying to do good stuff, trying to lead a good life, but questioning, like, what's the purpose? God gives us His purpose, His Spirit in us, and that's so good. So that's the first thing, is He has a calling for our life. But what goes along with that, and what Paul spends most of chapter 1 on, is you have this calling from God, but you should expect opposition. We should expect it. Paul was in prison for loving Jesus. He was in prison. He knew about the opposition. He knew that the struggle that the church faced because they lived Jesus, because they did their best to follow God's calling in their life. He's telling them, you guys need to expect to be facing some opposition. And Paul knew what he was talking about. Paul's testimony of following Jesus, following God's call, led him to some opposition. And he writes this in 2 Corinthians 11. This testimony of his calling for God is his own church. 5 times I received from the Jews 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I have spent a night and a day in the open sea. I have been constantly on the move. I've been in danger from rivers. I've been in danger from bandits. I've been in danger from my fellow Jews. I've been in danger from the Gentiles. I've been in danger in the cities, in danger in the country, in danger at the sea, in danger from false believers. I've labored and toiled, and I've often gone without sleep. I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to be thirsty. I've gone without food. I've been cold and naked. Besides everything else, I face a daily pressure from my concern for you churches. That was the pressure he faced from following God's call. He said, you guys should expect some opposition. The world's not going to be open arms to you all the time. And we should expect that. Now, we didn't have the same opposition that they had in the first century. We just don't. But the fact is, Paul's saying, like, this is real. Like, if you're living on fire for Jesus, you should expect some opposition. It's real. Like, God is real. Satan is real. Heaven is real. Hell is real. And we're going to spend, all of us are going to spend an eternity in one of those places. With God in heaven or with Satan in hell. We're going to spend our eternity. This is real stuff. God saved us. And He has a calling, and Satan is doing everything he can to discourage you, to still kill and destroy your world around you so you do not follow that calling. He's working overtime. Like, this is real, Paul's saying. Like, this is going to happen. And I can tell you that many people have come to me over the years and said, Jeremy, I have a calling of going into ministry. And I'm like, that's awesome. But the moment that they face the first opposition, they say, oh man, maybe that wasn't of God at all. They're like, I can't do that. And they step away from it. And it's just, they get so discouraged because they're ready for ministry, they're ready to do it, but they don't expect the opposition. They don't face it. We have some people here now that are preparing for ministry, preparing at least a deeper ministry. And the Missionary Church has a PLI, the Pastor Leadership Institute, I talked about it a few times. It's a training program for people that want to go to ministry. And we have Joe Howell and Emily Willis doing that right now. And the first thing they tell them was, number one, go talk to your spouse. Get into with your spouse. Because get your house in order. Get your prayer life in order, get your daily reading in order, do all that stuff, because if you've never experienced spiritual warfare, and you make this stuff, you're going to now. And I think they can testify that they've already felt it early in this ministry, that we've had this conversation. We said, get your house in order, get your family in order, because it's coming. It's going to be tough. This real stuff we're doing. It's not just we're coming and singing a few songs and going home and then forgetting meals. That's great. You know, we're doing real stuff. Like the kingdom of God is real. The battle we're fighting is real, and the spiritual battle is real that's going on out there. And he's saying you have this calm, and it's so good. But you can expect people to come up against it. You can expect some opposition. And Paul and Timothy especially, and the Ephesian church, didn't meet like we met here. Like he's writing this stuff to them, but it wasn't like you're gonna face some tough singular remodel days, you know, and you're gonna have these issues. No, like they were running for their lives, but they were meeting together. And if their meeting place got needed some work, like the town didn't open up a town hall and say, "Oh, come on over here, like we can do here." Like they were in some real battles, and they were secretly meeting, and they were meeting in fear of the oppression that the government was giving them. Here, we don't have that battle, but if you've been in the secular world, all I've worked in those secular jobs and know, if I came to work in a shop and said, you guys would not believe what God did for me, you know, you really opened my eyes to a new spiritual blessing, they were going to cheer me on, right? They were going to say, oh, that's wonderful, Jeremy, I'm so glad you were walking with God going well. They weren't doing that. They were going to make fun of you. They were going to bash you. When I went to Africa to take some time off, they couldn't understand when I was giving time and resources to those people who are in Africa. People here need it. You know, they just couldn't get it. When I talked about the business plan, I mentioned, you know, does this company tie? They don't get that. They're business minded. They don't understand the importance and the value of training. Like they jumped on me. Like, you're a fool. You're not business savvy at all. They don't get it. They don't understand the things that we know are valued. We know that are blessings. They don't have the same thing. So we should expect some level of opposition. But we shouldn't give up. Like, I don't want to make it sound bad, because we have a calling. We have God's Spirit in us. And Paul says, don't be afraid. He says, don't be afraid. We have a calling. We can expect opposition. Don't give up. Don't be afraid. And if Timothy needed encouragement, this is probably where he needed it. Timothy was known to be kind of, he wasn't a fiery guy. He wasn't like full of passion running after them. From what we know, he's probably kind of timid. Now, he was sound mind. He was a very adequate leader. He was very strong in faith. He had all the qualities it took to be an effective leader. He did a very well job. But he wasn't like maybe Paul or Peter that would run in there and just boldly do all these things. He was a little bit timid. So this young, sound, qualified leader was getting encouragement from his mentor. And in verse 7, Paul says, God does not give us a spirit of fear. But his spirit is of power, of love, and sound mind. Paul knew that Timothy was going through all this stuff. He's been there himself. And he's saying, don't be afraid. Like, don't have fear to do this calling that you have for God. Yep, there's oppression. There's opposition. But God's spirit is in you, and that's not a spirit of fear. Because the spirit of God in us is a spirit of power, and love, and sound mind. And he's saying, we have to rely on that spirit, not the fear that you feel in your flesh, which was real. It's very real. The majority of us are fear and anxiety, and for some of us, come when we don't rely on God's spirit. We're trying to figure it out on our own. When a problem arises, when things go wrong, when we haven't weak that stuff, we say, what's the solution? What can I do? How are we going to get around this? What answers are there? When we're trying to rely on our own power, we can get down to a pretty dark place pretty quick. Paul's saying, that's not what I'm telling you. Like, don't fear because God's spirit is in you. His spirit is coming. His spirit will give you the ability. His spirit will give you the encouragement. You can't get it from yourself. You've got the spirit in you. Ephesians 3:20 says, now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask, or think, or do on our own, or imagine, according to his power that's working in us. Like, it's his power that we have to believe in. It's his spirit that's in us. And if we can take encouragement, not give up, not because we're so great. And Timothy was a timid, kind of humble guy. He knew. He And this week, Mackenzie's on her senior trip, 2-week trip. My most useful kid is gone. We're struggling. I love you guys, but so she drives them to and from school. And so now we got to figure it out for a couple of weeks. And April drives and drops them off, and I have to pick them up most days. And I was picking up the kids and waiting for them, and their system's kind of not the best, I think. But there's a circle of kids, a circle of boys at the school, and they were talking like boys talking. These were probably like second or third grade, I don't know. But they got into every conversation, every boy that age is 10. My dad is strong. Like, no, my dad is strong too. No, my dad's like way stronger than your dad. No, my dad can beat your dad up. You know, you guys, every boy has had that conversation. What they're really doing, I was thinking about it as I was reading Timothy chapter 1, 2 Timothy chapter 1. I was thinking what they were really saying was like, my dad's super strong, so somehow you should view me as strong. Like, my dad can beat up your dad, so don't mess with me because I can beat you. You know, what they're really doing is drawing off their father's strength, and they're vocalizing, you don't want to mess with my dad, he's super strong. That makes me somehow, you should view me as strong. You know what I'm saying? Like, Satan, anxiety, stress, fear, like, our dad is strong. Our dad is strong. Like, don't mess with me because you know who my dad is. Like, my dad can beat you up. You know, don't mess with me. We have a strength, we have a power, we have just the ability to tell our enemy, like, look, we got a strong dad. We shouldn't live timid in fear, but with power. God has not given you a spirit of fear, but a spirit of power and love. Now, I feel like I've kind of beaten love to death these last few weeks, but that's good. We're not talking today about the love that we should have for each other. We should all have a Christian love for each other. Or even the love we should have for the lost. We should all have a love for the lost. This is about God's love for us. Like, He gave us a spirit that He loves us. He's not going anywhere. And Paul writes in his letter, like, Timothy, I get it, you're scared, but please come visit me. Don't be afraid. Like, every friend that Paul had was leaving him at this time. Because he would be what we call a felon. Like, he's convicted, he was guilty. And people are like, I don't know if I'm going to Paul's name attached to mine. We saw when Jesus was arrested, Peter's like, I really don't know that guy. People are pulling away, they were fear because of the opposition, because of the real penalty that they faced. And Paul's saying, like, everyone's leaving me. Like, God hasn't. God hasn't left us. In this world, when people are living in fear and anxiety and they leave you, and they're going to run from you, they don't want to associate you because you're doing God's work, you're following God's calling, like, God won't. He will always be there for you. He has a love that's so strong, He's not going to leave you. And sometimes when we're in those situations, we have to just glance at God. We just have to give Him a glance and say, He's still there. We just have to lean on Him and say, God, is your love still real? And if I use Mackenzie as an example again, and I think any of the kids that have taken sports will see this, hopefully. Mackenzie plays volleyball. And a couple years ago, her team was really good. They've been undefeated in the regular season. And they were in this special tournament in Wisconsin. They get to the championship game, and this other team from a different state had a really good team. Like, this girl was far and away better than anyone else in the whole team. And the team knew that. Like, Mackenzie's team knew that. Like, how could we beat this team that had this girl? She's like way better. So as they get lined up, and when Mackenzie got across the net from this girl, like, she was scared. Like, she was intimidated. She's not here, so I can say these things. She was like, come on, man, she's just way better than me, kind of thing. And then she did something that she did often. Every time she played, when she got in trouble, or she wasn't sure, she lacked confidence, she glanced over. Kids do this often, adults do it. When we're in trouble, when I'm struggling with words, I glance over at Pastor Phil, and he just stares at me. But it hurts. It hurts. Like, she glances at me, and I get a chance, like, yeah, you got it. And then she hits when she spikes down, she gets a block, and then she gives a little glance, and I can give her a smile, like, I told you, you got this. Like, we just have to glance at God. Like, she's glancing at me because she knows, win or lose, hit or miss, block or not, I love you. Like, you got this. Like, I'm here for you no matter how this turns out. Like, I love you. And I want more than anything my kids to know that win or lose or hit or miss, however they do, like, I love them. I want them to have supreme confidence that I'm here to I don't want this. We just have to glance at it. Paul's saying we have this law that's look at him, glance at him. Like, get that look from him, like, he's in your corner. God hasn't given you a spirit of fear, but one of power and love and a sound mind. Other versions say self-discipline or self-control, but a sound mind, and I believe it means that when the world's falling down around you, when your world's falling apart, when things aren't working out, when things aren't going well, you have the ability to stay steady, to stand firm, to hold on, to not waver in the middle of all of it. A sound mind. You have a sound mind now, everything looks bad. Like there's no hope in this world. Do we have a sound mind to say, no, that's not okay? That's not what God's Spirit is about. It's not one of fear. It's having a sound mind. Romans 15:13 says, may the God of hope fill you with joy and peace as you trust Him. Not as everything in life is going great. Not as is everything went smooth this week, or as is everyone complimented you this week. No, it's just as you trust in Him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. May you have joy and peace as you trust in Him when the whole world's falling apart. And you have trust in Him because He is who He says He is. There's going to be times that aren't great. There's going to be times that storms are going to come. But someone with a sound mind, Paul's saying, have a sound mind. Like, it's all right. Think about God. Think about His promises. Are those real in your life? Can you rely on those right now? It is not easy. A few years ago, we decided to move from Silverwood to Cass City. 7 years ago? 6 years ago. Numbers are hard. 6 years ago. We have a number, maybe I shared a number of ways in which God called that into our life. But God reinforced that. I will say without a doubt today, it was God's calling us for us to move to this specific house in Cass City. I can say that confidently today. I could have said that confidently back then. The moment we signed our mortgage papers, I got sick. Like, the Facebook, because it was in April, so Facebook memory popped up, and there's a picture of us with the realtor, and they said, "Thanks for coming home." And I'm looking at myself, I'm like, you were so sick that second they took that picture. Like, I got sick, I don't know what it was, I got sick. So the next morning, I woke up and I was sick. But I went to work because I had a job that relied on me to show up and get things. So my plan was I'll go in there, get things organized, put out the fires, and go home at noon because I'm sick. Well, on the way to work, like, it got worse. I'm like, I'm going to stop with the doctor to see what happens. Well, that's pneumonia. And pretty severe case of pneumonia. So I went to work, and then I slept Friday afternoon to Sunday. And we had immediate occupancy, so we were going to move right away. So we already had the trailer packed and stuff. So somewhere when I was asleep, April would wake me up and have my medicine, but I think I slept Friday at 2 p.m. and woke up Sunday at 6 p.m. I don't remember anything in between there. And she had, at that time, had the trailer empty, and had it back, and it was empty. And she put it all in our garage at the new home, and it was like snowy and rainy and muddy. So it was time to load the big stuff up. And I'm trying to do that, and I'm sick, and my kids running around, the mud's coming in, it's getting slippery. I'm like, please get the kids out of here. Like, I don't feel good, just get them out of here. So she left, and she went to the house to paint or something. And I'm carrying this dresser that's pretty large down the stairs. I make it down the first flight, I get outside to the deck, and I slip, and I fall through the rail, and the thing falls on me in the chest, and I wiggle out. And now I'm sick, and I'm mad, and I hurt. I'm hurt. So I keep going, though, I just keep loading it up, and she comes back with her van that's less than a year old, and comes in and it's busted all over. She hit a deer on the way back, and she's like, you told me to get the kids out there, get the kids out there. Hit the deer, radiator's cracked in half, there's no fluid cooling in there, she's driving it. So we're like, what are we doing? I'm like, let's just go. We had the mattresses in the back of the truck we were borrowing, so at least we had a car. Let's just go, we'll spend the night in the new house. We had nothing in there but mattresses. We're in this upper room, this upper bedroom. We have 4 mattresses and us in there. That's all that's in there, is mattresses. That's the only thing in there. It's as close to a rubber room as you can get. And Elizabeth, who's just 1 year old, kind of rolled off the mattress a little bit, and her arm was kind of like not right. I'm like, I think she hurt her arm. I don't know. She hurt her arm from this side of the ground. And so she calms down, and we're like, we'll keep an eye on that. And I think I said, well, kids, this is Cass City. And then next day, April called and said, Elizabeth's arm's not ready to take her in, she broke it. And a rubber broom, she broke her arm. And I'm still sick, and my back's getting worse, and it turns out I damaged the nerve. It was 3 months of unbelievable pain. Like, I couldn't even drive to work all the way. I worked around the city, in Cass City. Oh, by the way, I was like, I just got power in Silverwood because we have a freezer full of meat from all the deer that I killed. But 2 days later, I get a call from my neighbor, oh, by the way, ice storm hit and you lost power. And I was like, 2 houses, no power. And meat, we try to worry about. But it turns out I damaged the nerve and it was severe pain. I couldn't even make it to work. I did work, I was not supposed to, but I did do the whole thing. Without stopping in Marlette and laying down flat for a few minutes so I could get like the pain down enough to make it the rest of the way. And then we had an empty office, and every 20 minutes I'd lay on that flat desk. It was, when I got home, I laid on the floor on the heating pad, and that's all I did until I went to work the next day. Severe pain. I had pain injections. I had some horrible muscle relaxation. Being so angry, I just stopped taking them. Pain, nothing touched. The 10 unit hooked up, eating 24/7 after 3 months of this. Unrelenting pain. April sits next to me, and I'm laying on the living room floor on the couch, and she goes, "How are you doing?" Like, I started to question, like, did we make a mistake? Like, is God like just messing with you, or you mad at God? Like, how? Like, I'm just checking in. Like, how are you doing? And I wanted to say, if I was honest, like, oh yeah, we made a horrible mistake. Our whole life, everything we did up to this point is done. Because I had fear, like, what if this is my permanent life? It was unbearable pain. I couldn't do it. What if this is the rest of my life? Like, I had fear and anxiety, but as I inventoried what she was saying, like, she put me in the spot, I had to give an answer. I was like, no, God's got this. This is going to work out. This was a good thing. I remembered all the times He confirmed and affirmed in my life, all the callings that He gave me. This is one of them. This is going to be good. This is going to be all right. We're going to get through this. And that was my answer, even if I was half lying, that was my answer. It was about 3 days that I was starting the process of getting up to go to work. And so the process was like I grabbed this leg and I kind of crossed it here, and then I kind of wiggled into like a downward dog yoga position. And then I just gritted my teeth and grabbed the couch and stood up, and then everything would hurt. And then I gave it a minute, and then I could slowly get to work, and then I could walk and get in the car, and then I could crush that foot. I started that process, and I got up and I'm like, this is kind of alright. And I stood up and I'm like, this is good. Now I was still in pain, I was still stiff, but that nerve, have you ever had nerve pain that hurts your teeth that doesn't relax, that doesn't go away? That was gone. And I could breathe, and I could kind of go like this. Look at it, look what I'm doing. And then I believe fully that God's got this. Like, it's okay. And now I can stand here and I can look at why I was in Cass City, and 3 years later, Pastor Phil called and said, why don't you come on over to here, and we're here today. I can confidently say, God's got this. Like, in the worst of the worst, when you're going through all that, when your life's crumbling down, you guys know, you guys have your own stories of your life hitting all at once. I mean, you might not have lost power, 2 houses, you got a broken arm, you crashed your car, but the arm healed. My back is somewhat healed, and it'll be for the rest of my life, but it's good. The van got fixed, power got restored. All those temporary things are fixed, and now we're just living in death, honestly. Of eternity. Those things, God's got us. Through all of that, when life gets dumb, and at that point life is very dumb, we can say with a sound mind, no, God's here, God's with us. God's got this, God's in control. But there are times throughout that time that I wasn't of the sound mind. There have been other times in my life that I wasn't the sound. I felt powerless, not powerful. I felt that there were plenty of times where I was unable to receive love because I didn't feel lovable. I wasn't at a time where I was sound mind. I was a time where it was chaos and things, every circumstance that changed. Like, oh, now what are we going to do? Oh, now what are we going to do? I didn't feel power. I didn't feel love. I didn't feel in control. There's been so many times that I felt powerless. I felt unlovable. I felt under control. And if you're feeling that way, you might be saying, that's all great for you, but how do we? Like, what can we do to get to where Paul's saying to get to? Like, not live in the spirit of fear and anxiety, but the spirit of power and love. And he says, before that, verse 6, he says, for this reason, for the reasons that you have faced all opposition, for the reasons and the times that you And then you'll see His power. You'll see His love. You'll see it. How do we fan the flame? When we were camping in town, we built a fire, we put some food, and then we wanted a fire for the night to relax around. And he says, I said, well, let's build another fire. He goes, you want me to get the gas? That's my secret weapon for fire. I don't know if you guys know, I pour a little gas on it. I said, no, I don't think you need the gas. I think it's warm enough. I think there's enough cold in it. And you look at it, it's covered in ash. It doesn't look hot. It doesn't feel hot. It doesn't look like there's any fire there. But I just blew it 3 times. Put some kindling and blew it first. Like fan the flame. You have the Spirit that's in you. You may not see it. You may not feel it. You might not believe it. But just give it a little puff of air and watch it explode. And Tom said that was the coolest thing in the world. Any chance he got, he'd wait for a fire to die down and he'd run over. I said, come check this out. You know, Tom, check this out. For like the next 3 months. That's all he did was like, can we build a fire? And then I'm gonna die. And then I'm blow on it. You know, that's all he wanted to do. If it was there, you can't see it. You can't feel it. There's times we don't know it's there. We don't realize it's there. He's saying, you just have to blow on it. You have to fan it. And how do we do it? Well, I think we do it with everything we talked about the last 3 weeks. We seek the face of God. We turn to God. It says, like, God loves you. Like, seek His face. Turn to Him. Look for His presence. When He whirls crashing down, remember the blessings and things He gave you. Pray. When you're feeling unlovable, pray to feel God's love. Be unified with each other. We can build it, just like Mackenzie can look to me and get a little nod, we can look to each other. Unity wasn't a message just like, I hope we don't fight about some things. It's like we can build each other, we can fan each other's flame, we can give each other, we can pass the torch when we need to. It's so much more about just not fighting. We can actually build each other's faith, encourage each other to love each other. Every time we open the Bible to read, 2 Timothy chapter 1, 2 for you guys this week. Every time we open the Bible to read and we're giving God an opportunity to speak into our life with family. We're creating a spark that's already there, we're igniting it and giving it a chance to explode. One of these times it's going to explode. Every time we say, you know what, we take 30 minutes to pray because my life's crashing down, or no, I haven't talked to God in a while and I just need Him right now, we're giving Him the opportunity to give a little puff of air and the spark that's already in us. And all it takes is a couple of puffs of air and it's going to burst into flames. Every time we call up a friend or we have a small group or we have some believers that say, you know what, maybe we're out golfing together, and we say, this ain't good, it's not in a good spot, maybe we need to start a Bible study, or how can I pray for you? We're giving you a little puff of air, the Spirit that's already in us, and it's gonna burst into flames. We gotta have faith that that's gonna happen. We gotta have faith that we have to put the work in and say, I'm good at talking to God. Even when I'm good at reading my Bible. I'm good at seek out believers and their wisdom and their encouragement. Because pretty soon all these little puffs of air, like a spark of Spirit, it's already in you. You catch on fire. So we'll have the band come up. Because only the 3 best ways I know to fan our flame, the spark that's in us, is talk to God, to pray, to read the Word, and to come together as God's people. That's all the only way I know how to fan this flame. And I see it, and I'm encouraged, and I can tell you that confidently, because time and time again, it doesn't matter if I'm talking with teens as a youth pastor, or the adults as a real pastor. I see them, and they're hopeless, and they're discouraged, and they don't know what to do. And all I have to do is say, do you think of one thing God's doing? And their demeanor changes. Their face light up. And then I can see them a month from now, and they're on fire. Sometimes it just takes a little puff of air, and I've seen it time and time again. Sometimes it just takes a minute to pause and say, I need some prayer right now. I'm going to call so-and-so and ask them to pray. Call me anytime, and we'll pray. But we have a whole church. There's a time when like our whole world's crashing down. I can't think of anything. No one told me this one time. And I'm sure that was God. I can remember that. He said that then. Like it's still true today. And we can rely on that. We can seek His face during those times. And it's the only way I know it. And I've seen it and now I know it's real. But the stuff we're doing is real. God? And the Spirit is in all of us. Some of us have a little spark right now. Some of you guys have a fire. Some of us have a little spark. We just need to fan it. It was meant for him to Paul, but we know your words are your words, and the scripture is God-breathed and inspirational, and it has just as much meaning for me today. Looking back at the trials of my life, and I can stand here confident that you have a call in my life, and that your voice has been guiding me. Thankful that you called us to be your people. You called us. I will be your God, and you will be my people, and that's a promise. That you're not going to leave us alone, and God, we just pray you continue to speak to us. God, help us fan this flame. You put your spirit in us. And we kind of smother this. Help us just give it a little puff of air. Just give it a little puff is all it's going to take, and we're going to burn down on the forest. God, we have a forest in front of us that seems insurmountable at times. And we need a blaze. So God, put that